Right now on KGW News Special Edition at 6.
It's collaboration, coordination, and partnership with the council.
A new year, a new mayor, a new council, and a whole new set of rules. How Portland's new government plans to tackle the city's biggest problems this year. Plus, the latest on a deadly terror attack in New Orleans that killed over a dozen people. But first, a disappointing ending for the Oregon Ducks as they close out their season with a tough loss to Ohio State.
Dan Lanning could not have seen this knockout coming. No one could have really.
I agree with that. With that, the granddaddy of them all is over, and it was not the day the Oregon Ducks were hoping for. Thanks for joining us here on this special edition of KGW News at 6. I'm John Adams.
And I'm Art Edwards. Our Orlando Sanchez has been in Pasadena watching all the action firsthand. Orlando, the Ducks really had no answer at all for the Ohio State offense.
Yeah, Art, John, nobody could have predicted the game would turn out the way it did, and so fast. A blowout, especially after their meeting they had in October. A classic game for the ages in Eugene that was decided in the final seconds by 1 point. What we had today was a straight-up beatdown. The Oregon Ducks falling 41-21. The Ohio State Buckeyes landing that knockout punch in the first quarter. They reeled off 34 unanswered in the first half. Oregon's high-powered offense, their defense, both ranked in the top 15 nationally, was nowhere to be found until the final seconds of the second quarter when the Ducks finally found the end zone. And at that point, down 34-8, there's no coming back from that. They kept it respectable to open the second half, scoring on their opening drive. 41-21 is the final, though. Those Oregon Ducks season comes to an end here after winning 13 straight. They're one and done in the college football playoffs, losing in the quarterfinals between Will Howard and Jeremiah Smith, just going off. Howard throwing for more than 200 yards in the first quarter. Smith, a machine, a player Art and I have talked about on Sports Sunday. We are going to see him on Sundays very soon and on your fantasy football teams because he is a special talent. He was the MVP of this game, and when they were hitting home run plays, electric plays, it was so much to overcome for those Oregon Ducks in just a disappointing way. And I got to witness the Ducks walking off the field just a minute ago. Obviously disappointed, the emotions on their face because they were expecting so much more after what was a magical regular season. But now it ends here in the college football playoff quarterfinals in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. We will have much more coming up at 11 o'clock. Reaction from Dan Lanning and the team saying goodbye to about 30 seniors who have played their last game with the Oregon Ducks. The top-ranked Ducks losing here in Pasadena, 41-21. Back to you in the studio.
Quick question for you, Orlando. Did you feel in the second half when they went down and scored that maybe there was a chance they could come back in this game?
You know, Art, I had said it was over when they got up in the second quarter, but I said, you know what? If they can put together a perfect second half, the perfect first half that Ohio State had, maybe, just maybe, but as soon as Dillon Gabriel was sacked on back-to-back plays that basically iced the game. Gabriel sacked 8 times. That was almost as many times as he was sacked for the regular season altogether. But as you know, when you get down, you've got to throw it a bunch of times. So he took a lot of hits, and it just wasn't enough to overcome. So yeah, just a disappointment all around for these Oregon Ducks that expected so much more.
They certainly did. Thank you, Orlando, there in Pasadena. You know what, let's take a look at some of the plays from the game. Most of the plays Ohio State made right at the beginning of the game, and really they were dominant all the way through. First drive of the ball game, Will Howard was able to find Jeremiah Smith. Now, he was only in the flat, but nobody could tackle him, and he goes 45 yards for the touchdown. It was 7-0 Ohio State 1 minute into the game, and it just got worse from there. In the second quarter, Buckeyes do it on the ground. Travion Henderson, 66 yards to the house for the score. It was 34-0 before Oregon was finally able to get on the scoreboard. It was the last play of the first half. Dillon Gabriel with a short touchdown pass to Trayshawn Holden. So it ended up being 34-8 because they got the 2-point conversion at the half. Now, Oregon came out, started the second half in just the right way, an 11-play, 75-yard drive for the score. 2-point conversion cut the lead to 34-15. But the Oregon defense really couldn't keep Ohio State out of the end zone all game long. The Buckeyes rolled 41-21, the final score. Oregon, as we've said, finishes the season at 13-1. So here are some of the numbers from the game, and they were not pretty for Oregon. The Ducks did have 299 yards passing, but rushing was a problem. Minus 23 yards for the game. They count sacks against your rushing total. They also gave up, as it turns out, really 8 sacks in the game, not just the 6. And Will Howard didn't get sacked at all by Oregon. Taking a look back at the past Rose Bowl meetings between Ohio State and Oregon, the first time was way back in 1958. Ohio State won that one 10-7. OSU now advances to 3-0 over the Ducks when they play in the Rose Bowl. So what's next in college football? Well, Ohio State will now go on to play Texas in the semifinal at the Cotton Bowl. That is January the 10th in Dallas, Texas. And with that, John, I'm going to send it back to you.
All right, Art, thank you so much. Disappointing day for sure for the Ducks fans. Well, some good news, though, to end our Rose Bowl coverage here. They may be rivals on the field, but they're friends in service. Folks from both Oregon and Ohio State teamed up at the food bank ahead of their face-off today. The group, which included mascots, marching band members from both schools, prepared about 27,000 food kits for seniors and families throughout LA County. The service project, a year-long tradition for both schools to help give back to local communities. Well, taking a quick break and stepping outside with a live look from one of our ODOT traffic cameras. This is Highway 26 near Government Camp. The mountains have seen a decent amount of snowfall, even as things have stayed relatively warm here in the valley. And a reminder, when traveling through the passes, keep those tire changes in your car, even if you have all-wheel or four-wheel drive. They are required on all cars during tire change required advisories. Well, bringing in meteorologist Joe Ranieri now. Joe, what's the situation looking like now up in the mountains?
Yeah, they've seen about 4 inches of new snow outside Timberline Lodge and about just as much outside Mount Hood Meadows. Now, there was an advisory in place earlier today. That has since expired throughout the Cascades. But again, you travel east a little bit near John Day. There is a winter weather advisory in effect until early tomorrow morning. A couple of inches of new snow possible later on tonight. But again, the Oregon Cascades could be looking at another 2 inches of snow tonight. But again, the other thing they'll be running into is some areas of freezing rain. So slick conditions heading over the mountain passes. I'll talk more about what's in store heading into tomorrow in my detailed forecast.
All right, Joe, thank you. At least 15 people are dead and dozens injured in New Orleans after a man rammed a pickup truck into a New Year's celebration on Bourbon Street. Now, officials are saying the suspect didn't act alone. NBC's Dan Shinneman has more from New Orleans.
Early morning, Bourbon Street filled with revelers celebrating the new year. When it began,
the guy in the pickup truck just punched the gas and mowed over the barricade.
Once past the barricade, investigators say the driver intentionally plowed through pedestrians.
After hitting the crowd, he exited the vehicle and fired upon local law enforcement. Law enforcement returned fire and the subject was pronounced deceased at the scene. An ISIS flag was located on the trailer hitch of the vehicle.
Investigators found weapons and explosives in the truck.
Other potential IEDs were also located in the French Quarter. As of now, 2 IEDs have been found and rendered safe.
The FBI has named the suspect.
42-year-old Samsud Dim Jabbar, a U.S.-born citizen from Texas. He was driving a Ford pickup truck, which appears to be rented.
Investigators do not believe he acted alone.
It was chaos and very, very scary.
A frightening and sad start to the new year. Dan Shinneman, NBC News.
Well, in response to this incident, the Sugar Bowl between Notre Dame and Georgia has been postponed until tomorrow. Meanwhile, just hours after the attack in New Orleans, a Tesla Cybertruck exploded outside of the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas, killing 1 person and injuring several others. According to NBC News, officials are investigating the incident as a possible terrorist attack. Tesla CEO and Trump advisor Elon Musk posted on X insisting the explosion had nothing to do with the truck itself. Police haven't determined a possible motive just yet. And in Hawaii, at least 4 people are dead and more than 20 others injured after a fireworks explosion in Honolulu. Police say the explosion happened around midnight. First responders tell NBC News this was probably one of the worst calls they've been on as far as the injuries. Right now, investigators believe illegal homemade fireworks caused the explosion. In your local headlines this evening, early this morning, Vancouver police officers arrested one person after they drove their car into a house. According to police, this happened around 1:30 a.m. near Northeast 138th Avenue in East Vancouver. Officers believe the suspect was driving under the influence and speeding. They hit a light pole and a street sign before hitting this house. Nobody was injured. According to a neighbor we spoke to, this is not a new occurrence.
Started with their fence, then their shed, then a couple years ago, car landed in their front door, so it's sad.
In total, Vancouver police arrested 12 people for driving under the influence last night, 6 of which caused crashes. That's compared to just 2 DUI arrests on New Year's Eve last year. One person has died following a shooting in a hotel parking lot in Northeast Portland. Police say shots were fired around 5:40 last night outside the Quality Inn near Northeast Sandy and 82nd. Police say they found a man dead at the scene. No one has been arrested. And take a look at this. These are pictures from the Seaside Aquarium showing an olive Ridley turtle that washed ashore on Seaside Beach. Unfortunately, when they got there, the turtle was already dead. According to the aquarium, these turtles look for food in warm offshore currents. Shifting weather can move the warm water further north and closer to the shore, which can lead the turtles to colder water. The cold water causes their bodies to slow down and they can become hypothermic.